Here's part 2 of the Jam Breaker. If you're first to this one and you haven't seen the beginning of the story, go back to the video and watch it, and then you may be able then to continue on this one. We broke off there on part 1 where Dave had looked back and saw the log hit the jam breaker. So we start here at that end and go on. He crumbled like a piece of paper and sank into the raging river, disappearing under the rushing, crushing weight of the logs. They had searched the river banks all the way down to its mouth in Bathurst, but the jam breaker's body was still out there somewhere, if not eaten by the wild animals living in the area of the river. They arrived at the river at sunup. The memory of the jam breaker and his fate was driven from Dave's mind by the beauty of the sunrise and the awakening of the wilderness surrounding them. Like a goddess, the sun rose into the blue sky, sending its rays shimmering over the reds, yellows, gold, and deep purples of the trees, turning the forest into a rainbow of colors. The river gurgled over the small stones as it made its way peacefully to the bay in Bathurst. It added its silver sparkle to the breathtaking beauty of the scene. You would never think that such beauty and peace could become a raging, boiling enemy in the spring of the year. Dave and Vance stopped for a rest before going on, and for half an hour enjoyed one of nature's more agreeable moods. As the sun rose higher, it promised a nice day. Already they could feel its warmth. Vance got up from the log he was sitting on and shouldered his rifle. "Well, Dave, I guess we'd best be getting along." They walked along the river's bed. The water was so low that they could walk on the sandbars and not get a speck of water on their boots. Some places the trees came right down to the river's edge, but there still remained a lot of bare, dry sandbars for them to follow. Some other places along the river there were rock walls as high as 30 feet. The trees grew up on the high banks, and they could hear the wind in them, mixing its murmuring with the murmuring of the water as it ran like a gentle brook between the dry sandbars. As they walked, their feet sent the many round, smooth stones in the sand rattling off in different directions. The noon hour was soon upon them. They stopped to eat the sandwiches Vance had brought along. Not far from where they sat eating, a spring of water gushed out of the rocks and splashed into the river below. Vance went over and caught some of the water in his cup. He came back to where Dave sat. He tasted it and licked his lips. There isn't anything better than a drink of water from a natural spring. It is a treat that no city dweller can buy with all the riches in the world. After finishing their sandwiches and a good drink of the cool, sweet water from the spring, they started off on their search. They were an hour and a half from where they wanted to go, and they did not want to waste time. Vance suggested, "Watch the right bank for those big trees we marked. I will watch the left bank." Okay. They took their time. They wanted to be sure they did not pass the place where they knew the peaveys and pikes would be. They had taken note of the tall fir trees which grew right on the river's edge. They came to a bend in the river and found much deeper water. Vance warned, "Careful, there is more water here. It goes right across the riverbed." Dave stopped and studied the shimmering water ahead. "Yeah, but it's not too deep. Why don't we go over more to the left bank?" "That's a good idea." They were about 40 feet apart as they walked up the river. The water at this point went all the way across the bank, from bank to bank, but it was only a foot deep. They rounded another bend in the river and stopped in surprise. Right in the middle of the river was a huge boulder, and perched on top of it was a big black ball. Vance slowly took the rifle from his shoulder. He looked over at Dave. His question was almost a shout in the stillness. "Is it a bear?" He raised the rifle to his shoulder and sighted down the barrel. Dave waited for the crack of the shot to ring his ears, but Vance hesitated and whispered again, "Do you think it's a bear? I can't make out anything but a ball." Dave wanted to yell, but only a whisper came out of his mouth. "Give it to him! Shoot! Before he decides to come after us! Shoot!" Time raced into eternity before the roar of the rifle rang Dave's ears and echoed over and over for miles in the stillness of the wilderness. The beast did not budge from the rock with the shot, and Dave yelled, "Go on, Vance! Give him another one!" Vance aimed carefully and pulled the trigger. The rifle kicked his shoulder, and its roar again echoed through the woods.